Good morning. Welcome back to Ribbon Candy Hooking. I'm Deanna. I didn't think we were going to have a camera right there. Whew, good times. Good times with cords. Good to see you. Happy Monday. Starting a new week. It is summery. Well, it's at least springtimey. Things are looking good. Things are looking better now that the cord plugged in. I had it plugged in the right spot. It just did not work. Sorry about that. Good to see you, Kirsten. Good morning. Happy Monday in Vermont. Linda H. Hello in sunny Massachusetts. Candace, good morning. Good to see you. Do I have a lot of Oh, I do have a lot of it looks like a bunch of garbage behind me. I'm sorry about that. Juju, good to see you from Pennsylvania. Happy Monday, Karen. Karen, you had some adventures, huh? Thank you for sending those pictures. I had a flat out weekend. I haven't been able to get my ducks in a row at all. Those pictures are going to come in really handy for coffee times. Thank you so much. Looks like a lot of fun. Country Gal, great to see you in Wisconsin. Beautiful day there. I'm so glad. Crystal, good morning. Great to see you. Cats Gallery, great to see you. Goretti, great to see you in Acton, Ontario. Sunny and a bit cool. I just have to OCD it a little bit. I can see that is, there we go. It's the kind of thing that gets me. Good morning. Great to see you all. Happy Monday. Let me just take a sip of coffee. That was a bit of a flat out marathon right there. I dyed a couple of dye sets this morning and dropped the kids off at school, and it's just been nonstop fun. Chrissy, great to see you. Happy coffee time. Linda B, happy Monday and new week. We are trucking along. I want to do some catch up today too. I wanted to catch up a little bit from the weekend and from last weekend because I got a beautiful rug when I was at the flea market last weekend. So my plan for the day, I literally just ran in, and now I'm all distracted by a bunch of things around me. I took off this weekend spontaneously because my sister Jessica said on Friday, "Oh, do you want to go see Mom this weekend?" And I thought, yes, but I had already set up for cocktail time here, so we ended up going on Saturday morning first thing, and just busy. Such a happy time, so much fun. Doing Mother's Day stuff. I hope you all had a wonderful Mother's Day. If you were celebrating, happy belated Mother's Day. I hope it was great. It was great for me. Did some International House of Pancakes on Saturday. Did some sushi at night. Had a really nice time. Watched some mysteries. Worked on a mini punch project. So I've got kind of an anecdote for you. It's a kind of a teaching anecdote because I did something really stupid. And I just want to tell you what I did. I don't have the thing here, and I don't think I could show it anyway because it's for the Design Like book. It's my Paul Clay. Let me tell you what I did. Just in case this scenario plays out for you in the future and you're thinking, how could I have been that stupid? And it's like, wait and watch. This is good. So let me first catch up and say, Lori, great to see you. Happy Monday. Dave, happy Monday. Great to see you. Great weather in Toronto. Still working on Scrappy Quilt. Oh, that sounds like fun. Sounds like fun. So, all right. So this is these are like the pretty punches. I was working on a mini punch project. It was a Paul Clay design that I'm doing for the book. It's the last image that I'm doing for the book, and you all have helped me with most of the other images, right? So actually it's not. The Helen Frankenthaler, I have to tuft that with the tufting gun, but that's going to go so fast I'm not counting that. That's probably not good, right? So I was going to do this one in mini punch, right? And this is a mini punch, and it's called, these are great. We'll talk about these more in the future because I'm all into this. And these will accommodate very thin yarns, 1-ply, 2-ply, maybe 3-ply, from the needlepoint stores, right? Because I got some beautiful 1-ply wool from the needlepoint store, the Thistle Needleworks, right? So I thought, oh, let me bring my pretty punch, and it's a dial one, right? So you dial it, you see the thing twisting up, and same principle as putting washers on a traditional punch. You twist up to, sorry about that terrible noise, like when you twist it. It goes A to D, right? And it sort of dictates the height of the tip, dictates the height of the loop on the other side. And mini punch works exactly like traditional punch, except it's tiny. You need, if you do readers, right? I use normally like a 2. I use like a 3 or 4 when I do mini punch, just so I can see it. So some adjustments need to be made depending on you. It's super fun, but when I got there, I forgot my threader, right? You really need this to thread it because you need to, come down here into the tip and everything and pull. Actually, it goes this way. pull the thing through the hollow, right, to thread the needle, and then you thread it through the tip. So mini punch works the same way in the regard that you're working the back, right? And I'd already watched all the Madame LeBlanc's, but mysteries, but I was rewatching them with my mom and my sister, and I was just in a zone, and I wasn't checking my work. And because I forgot my threader, we created a system, right? Like just make it work, kind of a bandage on an axe wound, because I can't sit and do nothing, and I didn't want to drive 2 extra hours to pick up a threader. So I did this thing where I was threading it with a needle threader through the tip and then pushing it down with a piece of garden wire, like really thin gauge garden wire. And the only way to make the thread go through the hollow of it was to whack it like this. Do you see where I'm going with this? I had one drink before this all played out, going like this about like thousands of times, because you got to do this about 50 times to get the thing down the hollow of the needle and to pull it out and to be able to start punching. And it didn't occur to me, over the course of thousands of these, it changed the height of the needle. Of course it changed the height. I was like pushing it out, right? Boom, boom, boom. Hours and hours and hours of work. And at night, right before I went to bed, I went, God, look at how much I got done. Mwah, mwah. And I flipped the thing over, and I was like, I don't even know what face. I don't even know. It wasn't a good face. It wasn't a good face. It was like a crying, bloody tears face. I was like, how did this happen? And I thought, oh, did I do that? Like I knew. I immediately knew. So I had to pull it all out. So anyway, I'm sure that you think of things like that before you do stupidness, but sometimes I don't. And yeah, super frustrating. So I'm reworking that whole thing right now. That was really classic. That was in the top 10 like golden hits. Yeah, and then I had to take 2 sleeping pills because I was so amped up and angry at myself. I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep, and I still didn't sleep. Melissa, great to see you. Good afternoon. Putting burlap on the floor frame. Let's go. Oh, you are working on such good projects right now. I love what you're doing with that spooky Halloween one. It doesn't look spooky at all. It looks so country, cool, chic. I love it. I just love it. The cotton house. I love it. Linda Ann, happy Monday. Good to see you. Oh, Dave, loved your video. Field trip to, Thistle Needleworks. Total sensory overload. Absolutely. It was so fun. And I keep thinking about going back, right? Sooner rather than later. Because I was punching with the mini punch, right? I repunched much of it. And I love the colors that I'm doing, the strawberry colored palette. But now that I have all the motifs in place, the background, I'm thinking, I was going to do it like white or like chamois type color. And then I was thinking, or I could do like a multicolor. I always do this and overcomplicate it. But I'm thinking about going back. I know with the 100% wool one ply, there wasn't multi. It was like all one color. But when we did the tour and she showed us some other areas, I noticed that there were a lot of like one plies and two plies that could be like really good for the background. So I think I might go back there in the next couple of days and look again. But man, it is. I have all my pretty punch stuff out again, and by pretty punch I mean mini punch, and by mini punch I mean Russian punch. I have all that stuff out to go because I figure when I'm away on the Cape, I'm going to bring the book stuff because I am way behind, and I'll bring some mini punch projects. Normally I bring like the equivalent of 2 or 3 garbage bags full of materials because I have all of these different bags because I think, I'm probably going to finish 3 projects and then I'm going to be super upset that I don't have anything else to work on, right? Like there's not like a rug cooking store at the White Cat right on Cape Cod. I'll do a tour there when I get there too because I love Pat. She's always fun to be with. She's not going to want to be on camera though because she's super camera shy. Anyway, I'm going to bring mini punch this time because it takes up so little space and it's such a lot of fun. Highly recommend something different. I'll do lots of videos while I'm gone, although I won't be able to do lives because the signal is awful. Like just using the phone is awful. It's like two paper cups with a string attached. It's that kind of thing, which I guess is kind of the point of vacation too. Dawn, oh my gosh, good to see you. Can't sit and do nothing else. No, it's awful sitting and doing nothing. My hands just crying out for something. Cannot sit. Goretti feels the same way. Linda B. Goofy things like that happen to everyone. You know, I did that, and my mother said, Um, well, at least you learn. You always try to put a positive spin, right, on these things, and have some kind of takeaway that is like a little shiny gold nugget, and you think, well, it wasn't pointless all those hours of punching, right? It wasn't pointless because I have this golden nugget to take away. So she said, well, now that you've made that mistake, this isn't the language we used. We were like really amped up. She was really upset for me too. um, now that you did this, you'll never do that again. And before she even finished saying it, she was like, yeah, you'll probably do that again. Absolutely. Next time I forget the threader, I will absolutely be banging it on the frame and forgetting it's changing the heights of the loop. That's just what I do. I did get another project finished that I've been working on, and this is a project I'm going to be teaching. So this is a lot of fun. You know how I've been hooking with the K facet. Oh, the other one's way over there. I have the green background going on a large bouquet. I don't feel like that's a good teaching one because it's too large, right? So although it didn't take much time, it is large and takes a lot of material. So I was putting together a hooking with quilt fabric class that I can teach. Um, don't let me forget to tell you, I am teaching one on Cape Cod too. I keep forgetting to give you that date. So I thought, how about a little bit smaller? And I think I told you about this pattern I was working on. It's called Square Peg Bouquet, right? Because I think a lot of us feel like square pegs, right? Judy, good to see you. So it's like you'll have to replay later to hear about all your tribulations. Yeah, just stupid stuff. Just being stupid. Oh, Juju says, idle hands are the devil's workshop. Isn't that a saying? Absolutely. Um, yeah, there's so many variations on that too, aren't there? The devil's. Oh, I heard such a good saying the other day. Ah, it'll if it comes to me, I'll let you know because I thought that would be so good for a rug, something like that, something like an old adage. So this is Square Peg Bouquet, and I changed it to blues, and I'm really happy with it. Let me shut the light off. I'm not sure that that's helping. It's a bit, yeah, that's pretty true. It's a little bit dark, but I really like it. And the background is all done with Kaffe fabric, K facet fabric from a jelly roll. Did not even use up the jelly roll, not even close. This is a 9 by 10 piece, and I've got hooked in. Trying to see if that's in focus. Let me bring it in. There we go. I haven't done any of the trimming or anything like that. I just finished hooking it. Yeah, it looks a bit blue. It's not quite as blue as that. It's a bit warmer than it's looking. But yeah, I like the square peg flowers. I thought it was something different, and I did proddy leaves, right? And maybe there's too many. Maybe I need to take some out. But I put some proddy in, and I thought it worked really well. I thought I really like this piece, so I'm going to be teaching this at some quilt stores around here and my usual places that I teach, getting back into that teaching circuit. And I'm also going to be teaching it online. So this is something that I'll put up at Ribbon Candy Hooking today, and we can do this together online. I might even give you a choice of background colors because you can see it's lots of colors. So it'll be a question of, I guess I'll do the K facet, right? Because it's a little bit more expensive, the fabric, but I won't be doing it with jelly rolls. I'll be buying yardage to put these together for you. But I think it'll be a lot of fun, something we can hook together, something really fast, something that you can finish quickly, put up on the wall or put into a frame, right, with the proddy coming. I mean, it's a pretty piece. I'm very happy with it. It was very easy to hook. Um, it's completely different, the feel of hooking the quilt fabric. We talked about that, but a lot of fun. It took remarkably long to figure out how to place that bouquet because they were squares. But once I thought about square peg, I thought square peg, square peg, square, square, peg. Wasn't that a TV show? Wasn't it? Or did I dream that song? Because if I did, well, it wouldn't be worth writing down. It wasn't that good. But this could be a really fun class. We could do this class with finishing it too. It could be like a two-part class where we finish the edges too, because it's a nice crisp edge that it makes as well. Very fun. That's something coming up. Just so you know, in case you are anywhere near me, at Salt Yarn, which is a shop that I teach at often on Cape Cod. It's on Route 6A in prettiest street in the world, 6A, the old Kings Highway. Let me pull up the calendar. I'll be teaching there on Sunday, May 28th. And it is the Fox. I don't think I have that handy, but the little Fox that we did the live show of too? It's the Fox with the kit. So I'm there, in case you haven't done the Fox yet, and teaching. It's Salt Yarn. And again, it's on Route 6A in Dennis, Massachusetts, on Cape Cod. And I will be there on Sunday the 28th. So if you want to be together there and have a class in person, that's where I'll be. And oh, and also Madison Wool booked that class, the K facet, the square peg bouquet. You can sign up for that on June. Wow. Oh, sorry, July 2nd. July 2nd, square peg bouquet at Madison. That's called Madison Wool, Mad Wool, Madison, Connecticut. And then I'm doing the multi-strand braid, right? Braiding with the t-shirt, but the braided in rug, not a traditional braided rug, the braided in rug. I'm teaching that also at Madison on August 5th. So those dates I just put on the calendar this weekend. All that stuff is coming up. I watched that show. Sarah Jessica Parker. Was it called Square Pegs? I just remember that theme. Oh, Dave says yes, it was way back in 1982 with Sarah Jessica Parker's Square Pegs. Square Peg, Square Peg. That was a very annoying song because I remember it to this day, but I don't remember the show at all. Should be a really fun class. Yet, Kirsten, the background is just gorgeous. The lights and the darks of hooking with quilting fabric is really a lot. It's a lot of fun. So looking forward to that nice balance of colors. Thank you. Thank you. Very nice. I like how the shots of color peek through. Me too. It does a lot of that, and you can really control it as well. It reminds me, hooking with these kinds of busy prints, it reminds me of like antique rugs, right? And many of those were cotton too. Just the way the colors come and go, right? And choosing different strips. And I tried to put a little bit of light on the edges and then dark heading more toward the center. You could do it in reverse. You could do it anyway. You could do it with no thoughts in mind, just a blank, empty mind, and it would still come out great. It's just a great, simple pattern, if I do say so myself. All right, so let's finish our slideshow from, oh, Jay, if you're around, let's show the rug. I don't know if you can hear me. I wanted to show you the rug I got because a few of you wrote and said, did you find anything at the flea market last weekend? I did. I found a rug that has a bit of a Native American feel to it. I'm going to see if he'll come in and help. If he doesn't, I'll figure it out. It's big. It was, I think, $25. Listening to hear if I hear footsteps. I don't, so let me do it. Instead of shouting again and being such a skunk, right, let me just get up and let me see if I can do this. And I'm going to be very careful because, yeah, I can do this. I'm going to be very careful because this rug, right, so I found it at the flea market, the Elephant's Trunk in, I think that's New Milford, Connecticut. And it's a beautiful, let me come to you here for a second first. Well, it's a beautiful market, but the vendors are not always thoughtful about the way that they handle their wares, right? And yeah, they're not rug experts, but I mean, it's also super irresponsible to put this kind of a rug into a pile of other junk. Just like it was so balled up and junky. It was like a crying shame. So I'm gonna back up my chair. Right, this kind of thing. And I'm gonna come to you closer because it's really unusual colors. And when I was looking at it, Jay was with me and he said, I said, I don't know if I can justify even for $20 getting another rug that has a lot of damage. It's got a hole in the center. Right, because you know what? It was folded into a quarter, and that's where it landed, right in the center where that hole is. And there was about 10 tons of garbage on top of it, like old heavy clothes and sweaters. And man, it's just, But he said, and I think rightly so, I don't have a lot of Native American inspired rugs. And I thought, you know what? I should. Let me show you the back as well. It's pretty vibrant on both sides. And I would love to say, oh, I wonder if it's a Helen Albee, but we know that it's not because her rugs are clipped. But I thought it was a beautiful design, and for that money, there was no way I was leaving it there to be atomized, And let me come in. Just see all the pinks in the kind of sage green, the bluey sagey green, and then a little bit of poppy red. It's so different, the color palette. It's really pretty. It looks like it's hooked. I'd say that's a 7. And then it's got the tape around it, but it does have a bit of loss. Sorry, that's my elbow, shoulder, something. I still really like it. And the hole is significant. but we're gonna hang it up in one of the rooms here. There, that's the hole in the center. You know, you're not supposed to fold your rugs, right? We know that. You're not supposed to. Oh, I froze. Am I still frozen? But with the perfect view of the rug. I hope I'm back. Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it? It really is beautiful. So I'm very happy about that. It's a funny mix. The center looks like black, and there's a lot of black, but there's also a lot of brown. It's a really funny mix. Some neutrals, very unusual color palette. So that was last weekend, and that was a great find. And I did see a few other rugs. Let me know if I'm unfrozen. It all looks normal to me. I just made a face. Yeah, let me know if I'm unfrozen. Um, I saw a bunch of rugs, and you know, I'm not typically looking for commercial patterns at this point unless it's something I really love. Um, and I'm not I mean, I have hundreds of rugs at this point, and I think I'm going to list some of them on. I keep saying this, and I haven't had time on ribbon candy hooking. Not frozen, excellent. So yeah, so I only pick them up when it makes sense, and otherwise I leave them for someone else, and hoping that someone else appreciates them and is looking for them, right? Because I don't need to keep hoarding everything, right? That's a disease, but it's a disease that I definitely have. So yeah, there were other little ones. That was my favorite one. That was the only one that I even considered getting, and I even put it down a few times. But I thought, for that money, it's definitely worth it. I would like to say I'm going to repair it in the near future, but you know that I'm not. Time-wise, it's just not. I'm going to display it, and it's going to be safe the way that it's displayed. And who knows what will happen in the future. I do want to work on repairing some rugs, but my buddy Judy Taylor is the best at that. So it's not like I'm dying to get into that niche because I will never be better than her. And she's got the Facebook page and the book on it, Repairing Hooked Rugs. So actually, that's not what the book is called. What is the book called? I don't feel like that's right for the book. Anyway, that was a good find. And I went to a flea market yesterday, Mansfield Flea Market in Connecticut, and I found one rug. I should have taken a photo, but the guy whose stall it was made me very unhappy. He was just one of these people, you know, it was just one of these people. And I don't know if it's because I'm a female and because I'm like under, I don't know, 60, that he was so like offensive, you know. But I saw the rug and he's like, oh, you can walk your pretty butt back here, you know, like whatever. And I went and looked at it. It was definitely a Garrett Blue Nose pattern. It was really pretty. It was one of the winter scenes where there's like some people in the foreground. It's not one of the maple sugaring ones. But I recognized it, and I've seen it before, and it was beautifully done, and he wanted 100 for it. And that's a great price for that. But at that moment, he had it like on the roof of his car. It was about 120 degrees, bleaching itself. And in order to make it impervious to the wind, he had it locked, like he had the hood shut on it. Like he had the hood shut on the top of the rug. And it was like, you know, he started this thing with like, oh, that's a hooked rug. I said, I know, I'm familiar with, you know, hooked rugs. And I was being very nice. And it was like, oh, you'll never find another hook rug for that money. And it's like, yeah, except for the one for 20 that I bought last weekend. You know, it's more unusual and original than this one, but okay. And I said, yeah, I know a lot about hooked rugs. And I said I might be back for it. It's a commercial pattern. And he's like, oh, not a commercial pattern. And I'm like, oh my God, it absolutely is. But we're not having this conversation like under the heat of the sun when other people are shopping and picking up all this cute stuff. And I'm standing here arguing with you. Pointless. So, yeah. And he's like, oh, for you, it could be, you know, 70. And I thought, it's absolutely a deal for that. I just didn't need it. And I didn't want to give him any money because it was that kind of thing, you know. He was just like, made my skin shiver. Not in a good way. So yeah, but they're out there. That's the point. They're out there. I ended up getting a bunch of embroidery thread yesterday, like wool, fancy ones. Somebody was selling like a basket, like a Nantucket basket, not real Nantucket basket, $5, and it was filled with wool and like the polished cotton content. I forget, like satin kind of material. It was not like DMC. It was not floss. It was not 100% cotton. They were really cool, expensive threads, and the basket was filled with them. And it had 3 patterns that were started in there. So I probably won't finish those, but I loved to have the materials for $5. It was crazy. Flea market season, get on it, right? Dave says, Save That Rug. That's it. Thank you, by Judy Taylor. Excellent book on rug repair. The best. The Bible of Sharon. Hello in very hot, sunny Vancouver, Canada. I think I have the same T-shirt. This is a T-shirt dress. You probably do. I got this at a Goodwill or something like that, or somebody's yard sale. It's so easy to pop on. I was dying in this earlier too because I thought if color splashes on it, it ain't gonna make any difference. It's a dark color. I'm such a mom these days. Kirsten, Save That Rug. Excellent. Great. So that's pretty caught up. I have a lot more for you, and while I'm traveling, not this week, but I'll leave next Thursday. So we're on for our regular course of shows this week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, cocktail night. Yeah, we're on for that. So I will be coming, and then the following Thursday, I leave for Cape Cod, and I'm gone for over 2 weeks. So you will hear from me much during that time, and there are classes in between. Are you signed up for Black Sheep, right, the hook along? Do you have the kit for that? If you're a beginner, have you ordered that? Because those are all shipping today and tomorrow, and I can ship them later too, right? It shouldn't be too long to get to you. And some people have bought the larger pattern that you're doing it in your own colors, or a larger kit complete with colors. It's one of my best patterns lately. I really feel like it is. So I hope that you're going to do that with me. And also the Fairy Tale 2 class is coming up. And when you sign up for the Fairy Tale 2 class, it's a design-like class where we look at 5 different stories. It's going to be tons of fun, tons of conversation, tons of designs are going to come out of this that are very different styles. And we will be talking about basic composition as well, right? Not just stories and making a story with a sheep in it or something. Basic composition as well. Each one is intended to be very, very different if you're really following closely with what I'm doing. A lot of fun. Make sure you're signed up for that too. Those things are coming up before I'm away. Make sure you put your orders in now so I have time to fill them. Let's finish looking at all that beautiful needlework at the WDS Museum. I'm just going to say that because it's so hard to come up with all those names. And allergies are passing. Thank God. I hope for you too. Everything is getting normal again. So let me get rid of this and let's see where we left off. I have a couple of things I want to try to catch up on today. But putting out announcements, we were way past that. And way past this. Putting out announcements was certainly one of them. And giving you some live dates was certainly one of them. Let's see. And I want to say, again, a huge thank you to Patreon members for your support, particularly right now when we're taking our big yearly vacation. I really appreciate the support for the brand because much of my work day obviously is not working and doing orders. It's doing live shows and all this kind of stuff, recording videos. I think we are right around here. And, oh, Karen says there were lots of blue nose patterns for super cheap. I love the one that you got. Karen, what was it, like 2 chicks or ducks or something like that? Super cute. At the rug school last week, in addition to one that you bought. And you were hanging out with my buddy, Michelle Micarelli. I got to connect with her again soon. We got to see what we got going on in the near future. I think we did all these. These were some beautiful embroideries in one of the rooms. We were headed toward we're right at the end, right? Yep. We looked at the baby christening gown. We were headed right toward the end. Yeah, this was the Trapunto bedspread. And let me just find my place. Oh, maybe, remember the little baby, the tiny, tiny infant cap. And we were saying, what is that thing called? Like, I guess a little bonnet. This was one of the rugs that was there. There were 3 rugs. I think we did this one. Let me back up just a hair. Petticoat, we saw that. Petticoat. Yeah, we did talk about this rug. This was the geometric, and I think I said this was downstairs. So ideally, in a world where there was a house of women making rugs, a geometric would not appear in one of the front rooms. It would appear in a room that wouldn't have guests in it. But also depends on how rural, right, we're talking, because those kinds of social, whatever, unspoken rules would not be in place in rural areas, only in city areas. I think Wethersfield was pretty cosmopolitan because of its proximity to the water. It's on the water. So it has a beautiful cove that comes right to the main street. This was its placement. I think we saw that with a pretty tablecloth. And we had looked at this one. Remember this big bombshell where I came to the conclusion for myself that this is a sewn rug, not a hooked rug. It doesn't make any difference, doesn't change the age, doesn't change the workmanship or the value of the rug. Incidentally, if I were to find a rug like this, um, at a flea market is different than an antique store, isn't it? If I were to find this rug sewn or hooked from this age, I would say late 19th century. I don't. It could be an early 20th century rug. It could be. It could be a 1910s. Could be. I would expect this at an antique store to be about maybe 180 to 250, and at a flea market, I would expect, at least in this part of the country, in New England, to see this for about somewhere between 40 and 80. Very different at an antique market, of course. And very pressing, if you're in the market at all, very pressing to get these rugs out of flea markets, because they are typically sitting at the grass at 5 a.m. where it's all dewy and wet, and they're getting wet. So the sooner you can, sounds awful to say. Oh, we started looking at these samplers. We'll start at that. Sounds awful to say, but if you have any inclination and you're kind of 50-50 on the fence and you can get a good price, try to get them away from dealers who are putting them down on the ground. Because if they don't sell, they'll put them down the next morning in the wet grass again, and that rug will get into such a state that it's not worth having, selling, or fixing anymore. So particularly when people are selling rugs for like $10, $15, if you can. Just think about ways that you might display it, that even if it is in terrible shape, right? Because you can always put it over like a nice wooden kind of towel rack, right? Just display it folded in half permanently if you're not inclined to fix it. Because at least you're seeing some of its colors. You could always display it upside down. There's so many things that you could always display it on a busy surface, right? With other things on it, not wet stuff, but you could upside down on that kind of surface just to have the colors peeking through. There's so many things that you could do it that you're not displaying it like over the mantle. It's my big piece. It's the focal point of the room. It doesn't have to be the focal point of the room. It can be one of the many treasures in your maximalist house, right? If you have that aesthetic going on like this. And just somewhere, just so it's somewhere and it's safe, right? Then that's better than nothing. That's a good way to live out your life as an old rug that has seen better days, right? So where we left off, we were looking at the samplers in the upstairs hall. And remember, Heidi, I hope Heidi gets in touch. She was a lot of fun to talk to. And then she happened to come into Thistle Needleworks while I was in there afterward. And she said, oh, it's my new old friend. And yeah, I really liked her. I gave her my card, and I hope that she stays in touch. She was super fun. She's the one that I said, what are those things, like sconces or something? And she said, no, they're grapes, remember? And I thought, oh, Heidi, she was really knowledgeable about samplers. I'd love to talk to her more. Remember this one? We whizzed through this one on Friday night. Very ghostly woman in there, right? Female figure or child in with the tree. This is a very naive one. Super, super, super sweet. Definitely saw this one, the kind of boxed-in garden with a house. This house was in Wethersfield, and apparently it was knocked down. But God, can you imagine? Look at the size of this thing too. It's a beautiful old colonial. It has a bit of a salt box shape to it, right? The roof is really small and steep. New old friend. I know, isn't that great? I was so excited when I saw her again. I'd seen her like 10 minutes earlier, but it was fun. It was really fun. We looked at that, the sawtooth bedspread, right? We were well into these. And then we looked at the small, probably baby's bed, probably not a doll's bed. I'm going to move forward a little bit. Yep, we definitely saw this too because someone said, oh, the little morning dress. This is a big slideshow, isn't it? Incidentally, while I was at the flea market yesterday, there were a couple of stalls that had overshot this material, right? This woven material. I know some of you are super into it and are weavers. And I stopped at a couple of antique stores too where there was overshot. Overshot is incredibly expensive, as it should be, because it's a hand woven. It's a nice early American hand woven, right? And the ones that I was seeing were old examples, so they were super valuable. But yeah, we're usually looking at the hundreds, 200, 300, 400 when you're seeing something overshot like that. And this was the rug that was displayed upside down, right? So this was the last rug that I saw at the house. And it was really clear, seeing those kinds of lines in it, that this was being displayed upside down. So whether or not they flip it doesn't matter. It's just nice to know that, that I know what I'm looking at, right? It was like, I thought I was going nuts when she said, no, it's right side up. I said, no, I think it's got to be upside down, right? Definitely upside down. That's a close-up of the overshot there. And then we were, Let me just check. I don't want to skip over anything too much. You know what? I think we did hit the end. Did we hit the end? I raced through those. All right. So, we're switching gears. Ready to switch gears? We have so much material we haven't done yet. I am looking at, for the last few minutes, I'm going to do this. These were the two things I wanted to catch up on today. I raced through on Friday. It was just that one drink I had, I swear. I was very distracted and it was exciting. I guess we raced through those samplers, didn't we? And I did spend some time this weekend looking up historic samplers. I found a couple of books, on Abe books. I like Abe books a lot for stuff like that. Because it got me thinking about samplers, early American everything, right? So I think I am going to go down the rabbit hole in the near future with punching with needlepoint threads, just smaller scale for summer, something smaller on my lap that isn't so heavy and hot, right? When I'm sitting on the beach. And I'm thinking of combining a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about in the last week, because it really was a great inspiration to go to the needlepoint store and to go to the Webb Deane Stevens Museum. Think about whether you have near you, right? This is a serious reach out, a very sincere reach out. What do you have near you in terms of do you have a historic society in your town? Is there a little house in your town? Like up the road here, I have the Thomas Darling House. They have a few hooked rugs. It's a very small group. I belong. I need to be on them a little bit more, helicopter, and find out what rugs they've got. There's not a lot of people volunteering, right? What have you got near you in terms of historic homes, historical societies, things like that, that might be worth just at first an email, firing off an email. Oh, what kinds of things do you have there? Do you have any textile stuff? Is it, are you open for tours? Are you open certain days of the week? Is it possible for me to come and take some pictures with my camera, no flash, and document some of the things that you have? Because I would love to run slideshows like the one that I ran on Friday of this historic house near me, right? I would love to run ones that are near you. And we can do the thing with this program now where you come on live and your face is also showing on the screen live, and we can go through the slideshow together. So we could both be talking, and I will never put you on the spot. I will never put you on the spot. I will never create an awkward situation. I promise, right? I promise. It wouldn't even happen by accident. No matter how awkward you think you are, it would be a great show. If you can take, or even if you don't want to be on and you just want to send me a bunch of photos of something that's in your historic house, you all are spread out all over the world. I would love to see what's going on. We're obviously all interested in this period of textiles, like 18th, 19th, 20th century, right? It'd be really interesting to see what you've got going on. And, if you have any free time, if you have any free time and you're inclined, I would say it's absolutely well worth saying, do you need any help with anything over there? Even if I just volunteer a couple days a month, that would really be something. Because the reason I can't get into that Thomas Darling house when I want to, when I call, and why it takes so long for them to call back, is there's no docents working there. So they've got this house full of stuff that is, I'm sure, super cool, early American stuff. I know they have textiles in there. It's very hard to get a response because there's no docents, right? Yeah, and I don't see a lot of people. I mean, I'm 51, but I don't see a lot of people who are my age and younger stepping up to participate in the continuation of textile crafts or any kind of living history, right? So that's worrying. Something to think about. And if you're on it, please let me know. I like that. Well, you would, Dave, because you do your tour guiding thing and you love history and local history. Thank you. That would be great. It's absolutely worth checking. And even the smallest places have some interesting stuff. At least we're recording it in some form here for other people to watch. At least it's being recorded. We're nailing it down a bit. It's a start. So we were looking at the Handwork book, and Kathleen Eckhouse, I still have to send her an email because I have been enjoying this book so much. Rug Cooking Magazine, on their website, they did an interview with Kathleen when the book came out. And the book came out last year, right? It's 2022. Let me just confirm. Yeah, 2022. So there are interviews on the Rug Hooking Magazine website. And this is one of them. It's the full interview. It's very, very fun. That would be fun, wouldn't it, Doreen? It really would. Every once in a while I shout that out because I think it's really important. And it's like an octopus, right? Like all these arms, like reaching out to all of these places to see what they've got. Because people will often say, and I did this last year, and I'm using some of the material for the current Design Like book. I reached out to a few places, including the museum in the Historical Society in New Canaan, Connecticut, and I ended up going over there, and I'm sure they would have taken anybody in just making an appointment to see stuff that was like in the back rooms, right? She took me into the wardrobe area. She didn't know that I had a degree in costume, right? She just knew that I was interested, trusted me, that I wasn't that coming armed with spray paint cans or something like that, wasn't going to trip and knock down an ancient owl from the museum. That's not funny, but yeah, it happened last week. Um, yeah, so it's worth just reaching out because it's amazing how people will say, "Well, I'm busy this week, but if you want to stop by next week, let me show you the stuff and see, what you're interested in." That's really, you feel very special in VIP, and it's what they're really supposed to do, right? They're supposed to be sharing collections with the public. So typically people are very excited to hear from you if you're interested in any part of it. Do you have any hook drugs? Do you have any textile stuff? Do you have samplers? They're waiting. They've been training for this, right? Yes, we do. Would you like to see them? Right? Because many of these historic societies get no foot traffic at all. Karen says, been to the Pioneer Museum in our area, but unfortunately the cool stuff they have is all in storage, like their many quilts. It's a shame. They won't bring them out. Really? That's very upsetting. I wonder why they won't bring them out. I wonder if they were pressured, if they would do some kind of a one day a year when they bring that stuff out, right? That's very, very frustrating because really, when you belong to these places, your membership and the money you're paying them is kind of an unspoken deal that they will show things that you're interested in too, right? You can't please all the people all the time. But if there is a demand to show a specific thing, I would think in terms of like being cognizant of where your membership is at. If enough people said we're interested in quilts, I would hope that they would bring the quilts out, right? Why dig in over something like that? Um, Interesting. Keep me updated on that. That kind of gets me a little bit wound up. We stopped at this chapter here. Um, I give people a hard time. I think that's the problem. I give people a little bit of a hard time sometimes. Um, Maybe over asserting. Sometimes I feel people are not completely forthcoming with helpfulness, and I feel that I am. So when I encounter someone who is not forthcoming with helpfulness, I usually let them know um, how I feel. In the most diplomatic and classy way that I'm able to in the moment. But yeah, sometimes digging in is required. This is the last one I think that we looked at. This is the Inspiration Penny Rug that was made by Kathleen Eckhouse herself. So this is the last one we saw the day that we were doing this slideshow. And I wanted to show you a few more. Let's do that now. And again, the images that we were looking at in this book that's called Hooked on Handwork, Kathleen Eckhouse, she's looking at all kinds of examples of handwork, right? Weaving, quilts. This one is tartan, right? So she's looking at other handwork, embroidery, textiles, and being inspired, and her friends as well, doing projects that relate to a specific textile. And in this case, this tartan kilt, right? So this one was done by Bridget Webb of Dingle, Scotland. Very appropriate. It turned into a pillow that is 10 by 10, number 3, 4, 6, and 8 cut, wool on rugwarp, designed and hooked by Bridget. Um, Author's note, nowhere beats the heart so kindly as beneath the tartan plaid. William Edmonstone Aytoun. After the Battle of Culloden in 1746, the English government made wearing tartan and carrying weapons illegal. This was an attempt to quell the rebellious clan system. For some time, tartan became a rare sight, but in 1822, when George IV suggested that the Scots should wear their respective tartans to official functions, the interest in this weave structure was resurrected. By then, many of the weavers who knew the patterns had died, and it was necessary to reinvent some of the original tartans. Today, tartans must be officially registered with Lyon Court, Lyon. Interesting. Bridget says, I decided to hook a pillow for my partner, Sioris McGillivray, based on his family tartan. I know I just butchered that name. It's going to be one of these great. It's not Celtic, is it? Names, but I don't know that one. Sorry, it sounds very cool. The McGillivray clan fought with Bonnie Prince Charlie at Culloden. In fact, the clan chief died in that battle. There was so much history in this cloth that I knew Cioris would appreciate a hooked version. And then I'm not going to read the rest because I want to leave much to be desired. She says at the end, I found a ball of Briggs and Little wool that worked perfectly as binding. I love Briggs and Little. That's what I use exclusively. And it does bind very, very well. I prefer 3-ply, but 2-ply is also great. And I finished a meaningful gift for my partner. There's a lot more written there about the plaid, about the process, but you can see she is hooking. Let me see if I have a second photo of this one. Yep, a close-up of that's the name that I was just trying to say, right? You know, plaid is difficult because of the lattice composition, right? Some of the stripies are over, some are under. They have to be in the right pattern. It's a plaid, right? It has to be in the right pattern of under, over, under, over. It's like an exaggerated weave. But if you screw up some of the patterning, oh, April, good to see you. It's going to lose something, right? Whether your eye knows it or not, it's going to not rest perfectly comfortably if the plaid is not perfect. So it does take concentration. But it is a great effect to hook a plaid, isn't it? It's really a beautiful effect. Beautiful piece, and the colors are gorgeous. Very nice, bright orangey red, isn't it? That's a beautiful plaid to have. What a distinction to have a plaid. Now, this next piece is going to be based on clasped weft weaving. The weft is the yarn that is woven horizontally. You can see it in the photo of the scarf that in clasped weft weaving, the weft colors only go partway across. The weaver uses 2 shuttles, each with a different color. At the point where the colors change, the shuttles have to be switched and the yarns looped around each other. Okay, so like coming back around. Each color goes partway across, then doubles back. Yep, I get it. You see what she means? It'll go like traveling east, 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 then loop back on itself. That's really interesting. I don't know anything about weaving since I took it in college, right? Like years and years ago. That's easy to understand the principle of that. I didn't know what that meant, clasped weft. But that makes a lot of sense. So the sort of prestige of this textile is that the color change doesn't go completely across. And that in itself is going to create a pattern. And this piece called Ups and Downs, 13.5 by 16.5 number 8 cut wool on monk's cloth, designed and hooked by Julia Marjorie of Elliotsburg, Pennsylvania, 2020. Refurbished stool ready for use with its makeover. That really is gorgeous. Oh, good. Your black sheep kit just arrived. Fantastic. Would be your first project. I can't wait. It'll be so much fun to work on together. I'm really excited. Oh, and Karen says they sell Briggs and Little. What? At Dollar Mass in Nova Scotia, $3 or $4 a skein Canadian. That is very good. That is very good. That is very good. Good information. Oh my gosh. You know, you can, if you shop with, I always like to give a plug. I get my Briggs and Little yarn at from Maritime Family, Lacey, family business in Maine, and I get 2-ply and 3-ply wool. That's what I dye. That's the only yarn that I use, unless I'm doing something with fancy fibers, and then I include some other stuff. But I always get it from Maritime Family, and they do very good pricing. And if you get a certain quantity, they will give you a wholesale in the U.S. They'll give you a wholesale price that's very similar to that price if you get X amount of skeins, right? So you have to work with her on that. But she's very fair, very reasonable, and always very high quality. So this clasped weft weaving, interesting piece, again done by Julia Marjorie, and it says inspiration. I'm not going to say it again. This kind of weaving, very, very much a tongue twister. Always up for learning new things, I started weaving on a rigid heddle loom during the pandemic. Plain weave was quick and satisfying, but I soon wanted to explore other styles. Clasped, weft, while appearing complicated, is a surprisingly simple technique with a great deal of room for individuality. I wove a scarf for my mom's birthday, and we both loved how it turned out. During a trip to Frederick, Maryland for our anniversary some years ago, my husband and I purchased a homemade 1970s era footstool with the most unappealing greenish tan cracked vinyl covering. I plan to recover it with a hooked rug. Inspired by my weaving, I decided that the clasped weft style would work well with the simple character of the stool. I agree. I won't read the rest of that. That's for you on your bedside table, but this is just a beautiful piece. I love the colors too. Let me make it a little bit larger. The woven, sorry, not the woven, the hooked example at the bottom. Let me make that a little bit larger. Hang on. Just going to stretch because it looks like it's black and blue, but it's really not. It's kind of an antique black, lots of mixed kind of, the black is black, dark, 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 dark blue, dark, dark, dark aubergine, a little bit of wine color, so a true antique black. Very, very pretty, and it looks like there's two different blues and several different, it could be modeled of the pale, right? It's not just white. It's like has a little bit of a celery tint to it, a little bit of a tan tint to it. Very, very interesting colors. Very striking, great graphic impact, right? So that was a perfect thing to use as an inspiration. This is a woven plaid. And this one's hooked and designed by Tracy Granger of East Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, 2020. Seasonal plaids. So this is the hooked piece that you're seeing. Let me enlarge this one too. It's a long, skinny piece. I absolutely love this. Let's get into the details of this. 10.5 by 64, number 5 cut, as is wool, over dyed wool, and textures representing seasonal change. Oh, you got to be kidding me. That is so cool. I see that now, like on the far left, like the wintry whites and blues, and then going into the first green with the yellow and spring colors, going into really intense summer colors. How smart is that? And autumn colors, and then fading out at the very, very end into the whites and blacks again. Very, very smart. What a beautiful piece. I love the movement of that. So she says, math to go with my geometric passion. During TIGHR 2015, TIGHR, help me out with that. The international, oh gosh. It seems like it's an event that was in Edmonton, Alberta. She says, Lori Wiles from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, taught a class titled Hooking a Plaid. In her class, we assigned each letter of the alphabet a number, then gave each number a color, and hooked the number of rows accordingly. It's hard to explain, and it isn't necessary to hook a plaid that way. All you must decide is how many rows of each color, and then maintain that sequence throughout the rug, horizontally and vertically. Study some plaids and see how they're designed. And she wanted to make a runner, 10 inches by 64. That's where the math came in. So this is an excerpt, as they all are. Tracy goes on to talk about the making of this rug, and she shows you this. I have to say, I am the worst, but I see this and my brain just goes, it checks out. It makes a pretty pattern, but oh my gosh, it reminds me of counted cross stitch. But I know some of you are very, very technical, and that's super appealing. Certainly the end product is super appealing. This is an astonishing piece. Absolutely love that. And let's look at it close up, because it's a large piece, right? So take a look at this. See what I mean? So this is like the hooking, and it's directional hooking too, right? You see how it's every other one is facing a different direction, right? So this is astonishing. This is just astonishing. What a lot of fun. Close-up of hooked plaid showing alternating rows. Interesting. That is really, really, really cool. I'm just thinking about how I would do this, right? Because you can twist and change direction as you go, and as soon as you put the next loop in, you're golden, right? It's going to hold in place. Otherwise, you do have to hook under or over, don't you? And it would have to be over, can't be under. I'm going to have to think on that. I'm going to ask my friend Rebecca, who's doing the McGowan certification, right? Because I bet a McGowan teacher would look at that and go, oh, I know how you do that. That looks really tricky. But I bet it's not. I bet it's not. It does give a great effect. If I looked at this first glance, right, a couple of glasses of wine in me, I'd go, what is that? It takes a minute to realize that it's a hooked rug, doesn't it? Because there is so much directional pull. It almost has a bit, see, it's making me wonder if it is kind of just hooked straight and they're twisting, if Tracy's twisting the loops underneath to get it to change direction. Because some of them have a little bit of a bow tie look, which makes me think of twisting, but I don't know. We'll have to find out. Oh, Sharon says TIGHR has a conference next year in Niagara Falls, September 20th, the International Guild of Hand Hooking Rug Makers. Okay, how do I not know that? Are they based in Canada? I mean, obviously it's international, but I'm wondering if they're based in Canada. Is it linked to the Rug Cooking Museum? I'm wondering, just wondering. TIGHR. I'm going to have to check that out. I don't know about that at all. You know what? Rebecca knows about that too because she was talking about Niagara Falls. I bet that's what she was talking about, teaching there. I'll have to ask her about that too. What about punching a plaid? Punching a plaid would be amazing, Sharon. That would be amazing. I have to say, I mean, because this is a wide cut, but it's 64 is a very long piece. Yeah, I'd be very tempted to punch. I'd be very tempted to punch. The thing with punching, I'm going to say something so naughty, right? Not so much with the mini punching because it's so small, but with like traditional punching, Oxford punching. All right, this is naughty, right? Sometimes when I'm punching, you know how you're not supposed to carry yarn or wool strips across. You're really not supposed to carry. It's just not good practice. That goes without being said, I hope. It's not good practice. Because then when you need to go in the hole that is being covered or hidden by the wool or yarn that you pulled across when you carried, that's going to be a problem to get into that hole, right? Because there's something in front of it. But with a punch needle and hooking with yarn, punching with yarn, it's very easy to get back into holes. I would not carry, right, in the back. You're working on the front when you punch, but I would not carry a piece of yarn but sometimes I carry it 2 or 3 holes over because it doesn't make any sense to cut a tail, right? For me, I'm more about common sense than I am about rules. So sometimes I carry a little bit. And then when you see a little bit of a carry, right? You see a little bit of length, like it looks like an embroidery in the back. You can go with the tip of your punch needle and you can get under it. You can nudge under it with the tip and get in there, and it's no problem. So I would think punching a plaid for that reason would be a lot easier than hooking a plaid. Not that we're going for ease, right? It would be a lot faster. Maybe that's a better angle. I think they'd both be beautiful. You wouldn't get this, right? This really looks like a weave, but you would get the pattern the way that you wanted it. I think that's a really great idea. That's a really great idea. Because plaid is so much fun. Don't you love when you see an unusual plaid that's like cobalt blue, navy blue, rose, pink, celery green, it's like, whoa. That's the kind of thing I look for when I go to clothing stores, right? I don't typically look for, to buy a $15 skirt just to get a little bit of fabric off of it. But if it's one of these crazy plaids that you think, oh, I'm never going to see that again. And all of the chain brands lately, like Banana Republic and Gap, every year they are putting out wool plaids that are such wacky colors. It's in Talbots sometimes, right? It's fun looking for that stuff. It really is. But it would be a lot of fun to punch a plaid. I think I'm going to try that too. That would be really fun because you want to feel validated in breaking rules sometimes. And yeah, I do the carrying thing a lot with punch because it's quicker and it makes more sense. And I can see skipping one hole that I would need to punch later and just getting under there with the yarn really carefully, really carefully. But if you know that you plan to do that little sneaky trick to do a complicated pattern like a plaid, then you allow for that. And your head already knows that part of your process, part of the technique on that project is going to be doing a little bit of carrying and a little bit of needling under, literally, with the tip and punching back into spots that you carried over. That would be very easy to do. I break the rules so often that I've become kind of an expert on sneaky carrying, right? In choosing when to carry my thread across. Maybe I should do a video on that. I'm sure if I did, I would get all kinds of blowback that was negative because you really are not supposed to carry. But the thing is, you're not supposed to do a lot of things in this world, right? And sometimes you do because it just makes common sense to do it. I don't mean dangerous things. I don't mean things that would hurt other people. I just mean benign, stupid things, right? And the thing is, if you're going to do them, you might as well do them right. This is very enabling talk, isn't it? But you know what I mean. If you could think of an example of something slightly naughty that you've done lately because it made sense. In crafts, we do this all the time. So let me think about whether I should do a video on that subject, because that would be, I think it would be extremely helpful. But I know I would get a lot of messages from people who are not normally in touch saying, you're never supposed to carry. And I do know that. I do know that. But yeah, common sense prevails sometimes. So I think I'll stop there. And we do have more to go in Kathleen's book. I'm going to send an email to Kathleen right now before I forget, because we have been enjoying her book immensely. And I want to give her a huge and hearty thank you. I think I'm going to put Carol's slides from the Cream City show in for Wednesday. Let's do that on Wednesday. And I'm going to load your photos too, Karen. Anybody who has photos for me, please let me know. I want to load photos of things that you're going to now. There's all kinds of fairs and stuff set up, and I'm getting all kinds of beautiful photos, and I want to include all these in our shows. And I do want to start a series where I do have a second person on with me. So let's talk about that. Maybe when I come back from the Cape. I do want to do interviews, and I said this a while back, and I haven't done it yet. Kirsten, the first one's going to be with you. Where, you know, I'm talking to someone who's in our group, getting to know that person. It's not like, it's not, it could be beginners too. Like, why did you, and I have the list of answers, why did you get into hooking? I'm going to read these next time we have time. I would love to do live videos over the summer with anybody who wants to come on live with me. Talk about what you're working on. It could be more than one person per episode. I can only show one other person at a time, but we can figure that out. It'd be a lot of fun to get to know each other in person, have other faces on besides my face, and get to know other people, what they're working on, what they like, what their hobbies are, what else they do, where they live, what projects they'd like to do, what projects they are looking forward to learning more about, improving on. Oh, once I learn how to do this and this, then I've got this big, overarching project that's going to be the biggie, but I got to figure out these things first. It'd be great to have those conversations live with people. It'd be a lot of fun. And we're together so often that I would really love that. So anyway, lots to talk about. I'll be with you Wednesday, and we'll look at Carol's photos in Wisconsin. And on Friday, it is gallery night. So make sure that you're sending me your pieces. It's going to be a blowout gallery night on Friday. And yeah, so those two things we have coming up. Make sure you look at Ribbon Candy Hooking. I could really use some sales. I really could, because I'm going away for vacation. And yeah, children are incredible pigs. But anyway, make sure you're signed up for the classes that are coming out, and I'm going to put out a couple more classes too. Just need a little presence of mind, and I'm going to send Kathleen an email right now if you need me, or if you're going to send me some pictures for gallery night.